Hello and welcome to you all. This is the first installment of Ignorance, the Curse on Humanity. First up, a disclaimer. This video may offend those of a deeply religious nature, so if you don't like it, stop watching. From what you have deduced there, I'm probably an atheist, and this is true, and this video will be about religion. First up, I'd like to say that religion is probably the single most divisive and destructive force on the planet. It degrades, deludes, and divides our entire race. But there will be plenty of time to go into the crimes that religion has been responsible for later. This video shall be about atheism, why I believe it is the logical answer to the world, and the answers that science has provided to age-old questions. Because as much as the proponents of religion would like you to believe that the only hope is to blindly accept whatever they say, there are answers out there, and logical ones too. First up, our universe came into being around 14 billion years ago, a single event nicknamed the Big Bang, where matter and antimatter explosively spread out from a single point and began to spread. I will skip the completely explained and understood process of galaxy formation and go straight to our solar system. Our star came into being like any other, through the slow coalescence of gases and dust. When this mixture becomes a ball that is so compressed, its center begins to fuse. A nuclear fusion reaction begins to happen, and a star ignites and is born. It's all out there on the internet for you to see. Our planet was made up of rocks coalescing together, probably starting with a large asteroid that began to attract other asteroids and continued to gain mass until the process of centripetal force formed a rough sphere. The ultra-compressed core of metal and rock melted and our planet was born. I will again skip a large portion of geostabilization and volcanic activity to the point where a planet roughly the size of Mars crashed into ours, and then the entire Earth was reborn. This time we had a partner, a moon. Two bodies created from the biggest car crash in history. Fast forward to the point where ice-based comets have crashed enough into Earth to provide water to make a water-based planet with oceans. Now these are not the beautiful blue oceans that we have today, but a greenish-grey sludge that contained amino acids, and through normal, testable processes, these formed proteins, nucleic acids, and other components of life. Then, as was proved in the Miller-Urey experiment, introducing lightning to this mixture can cause the spontaneous creation of organic particles from inorganic substances. So now we have the most basic, simple form of mindless life. From that point, evolution, as proposed by Lachmar and revised and perfected by Darwin, takes over. For those of you who are not correctly informed about evolution by natural selection, it is a process by which the strong survive and reproduce, and the weak don't and die. Therefore, only the strongest genes survive. So, say an amoeba needs to stretch to get food, and in one generation, an amoeba is born with a mutation that makes it slightly longer. This creature then is more capable for reaching for this food, and gets the food more easily. Therefore, it is better off, more likely to survive, and more likely to reproduce. And if a creature is more likely to reproduce, it is more likely to pass on its genes. By this process, over billions of years, we begin to see vertebrate animals, or creatures with backbones, fish and other things in the oceans. Now at this juncture, I would like to refute a point that is often brought up by when I'm debating those who don't have much of an argument. They will say, the theory of evolution is just a theory. It hasn't been proven. In science, a hypothesis or statement is an unproven theory. If something is actually called a theory in science, it means that it has supporting evidence that can and has been tested. Like, the theory of gravity? I don't see any religious people jumping up and down and disputing that. So, okay, now we jump to the first land creature, or examples of which still exist today. when a fish species that lived near the surface found it necessary to crawl overland to another stream or pond when theirs dried up. Again, natural selection favoured the fish with stronger fins for walking and the ability to breathe air. Now, this didn't happen overnight. It took millions upon millions upon millions of years. But once we were on land, reptiles quickly began to become the most dominant species, and from this truly adapted creature, a subset began to become even more adapted, to become hot-blooded and move quickly to take advantage of the newly developing plant species. This subset species thrived and grew. They were the dinosaurs. They ruled Earth for hundreds of millions of years. But right near the end of their titanic reign, a small species emerged. Unimportant, unassuming, a small, tunneling rat-like creature. But it was important in one way. This creature was the first mammal. When the dinosaurs were wiped out by a catastrophic event, these mammals were able to emerge as the new dominant and most well-adapted species on the planet. Jump forward, again, millions of years, to when early monkey-like creatures were forced to stand up on the African savanna to see over the long grasses and look for predators. This was the beginning of us. They are why we stand erect today. And we are still monkey-like hominids at this point. We began to use tools to reach hard-to-get food like bone marrow. If you can't get inside the bone, you don't get the food. So you use a rock to smash open the bone and get it. Oh, another refutation at this point here is one that I often hear. We didn't evolve from monkeys. Monkeys and humans evolved from the same common ancestor. These creatures had to become creative thinkers to eke out a living in a harsh world. They needed every edge, and so they began to fashion tools to increase the odds in their favour. Now equipped with tools and a perfect posture for walking, we began to spread out of Africa. Our next great achievement was the mastery of fire, which enables us to feel safe enough at night to settle down, think, and eventually develop the ability to speak. Once we had speaking and fire down pat, we started to form communities for mutual protection. These would then develop later into nomadic tribes, and then later still into farming settlements. Cities are a logical progression on this chain, and communal living. Then we start entering recorded history, and religion stops disagreeing with reality. This is a much abridged and shortened version of science's real, testable, provable explanation of the universe. Evidence is obvious, and more is found every day. Now, let's have a look at the creationists' view of world history. Roughly 4,000 years ago, a magical sky being snapped his fingers and created the entire universe in 7 days. That's all. Enjoy. Answers are out there, but we need to look for them, not just accept what we are being told by a book of fairy tales. So this is my explanation of the universe, logical and provable. Next time, we shall look at the horrors perpetrated by religion. Until next time, farewell.